Mindfulness and self-inquiry improve our ability to be objective, to observe thought. How is this helpful in life? Once we are able to observe our thoughts, then what? So let's first of all define mindfulness and self-inquiry. So mindfulness is the awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. So as we've said elsewhere, this indicates that mindfulness is both a state and a practice. The very practice that we engage in brings us to the state that we are looking for. Self-inquiry is a contemplative practice of questioning one's identity beyond roles, perceptions, emotions, and thoughts. So in understanding these concepts, it's important for us to distinguish between objectivity and involvement. So that I've done elsewhere. I've gone through this list, so I won't go through it again here. I'll just remind us of the necessity to bring these two concepts to bear. The other aspect to be aware of as we're going through this analysis is the receipt reaction response mechanism by which we gain our experiences. We receive stimuli from the external environment. So a person's speech to us is a sense perception. The things we see happening in our environment are sense perceptions. Those sense perceptions are then reacted with by the mind and the intellect. So let's just, again, touch on what we know about the mind and intellect. The mind is the non-rational part of the personality. It holds our desires, our likes and dislikes, our preferences, the expectations that we develop, our impulses, our emotions, moods, feelings, that sort of thing. The intellect is the rational part of the personality. And from a neuroscientific perspective, when the intellect is active, we see that prefrontal cortex active, the executive function. The intellect is responsible for objectively observing things in our environment. It engages in analysis, chains of reasoning to arrive at a conclusion that encompasses our moral reasoning. What should I do? What's the right behavior? And it engages in self-reflection, the capacity to turn our attention around back onto our own thoughts, desires, feelings, choices, etc. The analogy that's often given in distinguishing mind from intellect is that of a child and a parent. So the mind is like a child in us. They think about what it's like when you see a child functioning. Something's put in front of them. If they like it, they grab for it. If they dislike it, they just push it away. Think of a food that they like or a food that they don't like. Now, the food that they like is full of sugar and preservatives and colors and flavors. They grab it, they want it. The food they don't like is some healthy vegetable. They push it away. The mind is like that. It will grasp after and grab for things that are not necessarily in our best interests. It'll push away the things that may be best for us. Adult will, with that proper understanding and reasoning, guide the child. In a similar way, the mind pushes away what it doesn't like, grasps after what it wants, irrespective of its effect on our well-being. The job of the intellect is to guide and govern the mind so that we make healthy choices. So that brings us back to the receipt reaction response. This is what's happening in all of us. We receive stimuli from the external environment, and the mind will react with its preferences, its likes, its dislikes. The intellect will also react by giving it a meaning, an understanding of what it is. Now, if the mind in us predominates, what that means is essentially the child governs our response. So once the mind and intellect has reacted, we respond back into the environment. We make a choice. We execute an action based on what you know about your own mind, based upon what you know about your intellect. Do you want your mind alone to be choosing your responses? Well, the answer is no, for obvious reasons. The nature of the mind is to get involved in whatever it contacts. It's the intellect which gives us that distance or perspective of objectivity. We all have a natural ability to be objective. We're all at a particular level. But if we want to enhance our objectivity, that's where practices come in. So we've talked at length about, for example, a morning study practice. It updates our knowledge, the things that we know or we hold to be true about the world around us, how life works, ourselves. So as we gain those intellectual insights, we're able to apply them to our mind and gain objectivity. Mindfulness and self-inquiry are another practice which can complement this. When we're engaging in mindfulness, we are adopting the position of the observer, paying attention non-judgmentally. Self-inquiry allows us to experience ourselves as separate from our thoughts. Any experience we have has embedded in it this sense of I am the thinker of my thoughts. I am the feeler of my emotions. I am the perceiver of my perceptions. So this identity as being the one who is thinking, feeling, and acting is something that we begin to question in self-inquiry. As we begin to question it in self-inquiry, we experience ourselves as something separate from the thoughts, separate from the emotions. As we gain objectivity through various practices, including mindfulness and self-inquiry, we become objective to the contents of our consciousness. We become objective to our own minds. How is this useful? What it means is that the experiences in life no longer govern our choices. This is one of the key elements of objectivity. The more objective we become, the more free we are to choose our choices. Imagine that you are writing an email to somebody, asking them for something. What's the attitude in your mind? What are the emotions going through it? What are the thoughts that are going through it? If you are involved, then whatever the emotional content is, that will dictate the quality of your email. So it's an email sent to a boss with whom you have a kind of a fraught relationship. They keep telling you what to do and micromanaging. So there's tenseness there. If I'm involved in that emotion and that thought, my boss is a controller, she never listens to what I say, she's micromanaging everything I do, those emotions will dictate the words that come out of my fingers, the way that I phrase everything. There probably maybe a little bit of passive aggressiveness in there. It's dictating it for me. I send the email off and I get a negative response back. And I once again blame my boss. It escalates the negativity in the relationship. When I'm objective, when I see a thought like, my boss is controlling, I just see it for what it is. There's that thought about my boss coming into my awareness. If I feel a sense of tension, I just observe it in my body as a pattern of energy. I'm standing apart from it, so I'm no longer having my choices dictated by it. So now what is dictating my choices? Okay, so I'm objective to my thoughts and my feelings. I can observe them objectively. Now what do? You do what you set out to do at the outset, which is to write an email. What's happening when you're objective, when you're standing apart from your thoughts, is that you're doing it more freely. You're doing it more from who you actually are. Those fluctuating emotional shifts aren't getting in the way. between you and your response. So it fundamentally transforms our relationship with the world because it's transforming our relationship with our minds. Now, what do I do? Do whatever you want to do. Make a new choice. This time, though, it's not coming from your involvement in your emotional reaction. So the question of then what resolves itself. Just keep living your life. Just make the next choice as you see fit. That's what you were doing anyway. The difference is when you're involved, what you see fit is dictated by the child in you. When you are objective, what you see fit is dictated by the adult in you. The point around objectivity is that whatever our intelligence is, it allows it to come forward and help us choose. If we are involved, then our intelligence remains in the background, in the passenger seat, not helping to guide our choices.